Yeah, this is Darby Allen, and you're watching AEW Insider.
What's up, peeps? We're back. As always, I'm your host, Lee Benson. Thank you so much for joining us for our YouTube edition of the AEW Insider. I'm back to bring you some wrestling news of the week. This is the AEW Insider, so of course we will be covering AEW, a little WWE, some Impact Wrestling. They have a big re-signing, plus their pay-per-view tonight. We also have some New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we do have some random wrestling and sporting news. Remember, if you want to win that WWE Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse Elite Ringside Collectible Action Figure, you gotta stick around to the end of the episode to find out how. Well, since this is the AEW Insider, let's kick it off with a little AEW news. AEW. Well, Brody Lee is still making headlines. On Dave Meltzer's show, he had this to say about Brody Lee's illness. Regarding the death of Brody Lee, there was apparently lung damage that was not diagnosed prior to his lungs not working, but even when they figured that out, they weren't able to save him. So Ringside News reached out to Brody's wife Amanda, and she had this to say in response. I haven't talked to Meltzer, so anything reported is coming from third or fourth hand. I understand my husband's passing was shocking and everyone wants answers, but unless information comes from me, please use caution in believing it. She also told Ringside News that, I'm working on getting something together and answering a lot of unanswered questions. So it'll be interesting to see what that is. Well, somebody out there is making a fake casting call to be involved with AEW Wrestling. As in for being a wrestler for the company or a super fan to help out behind or in front of the camera, AEW is not happy about this and they've released this statement. Just a friendly reminder. If AEW were casting for superfans or aspiring wrestlers, the information would be on AEW's official social media platforms and website. Well, AEW was supposed to leave the Daily Center. Miami was the location they were going to move their production to, but according to Bodyslam.net, AEW employees were sent an email yesterday morning informing them that they are not leaving Jacksonville anytime soon. They will be there for the indefinite future. On to WWE. Well, WrestleMania 37 was supposed to take place in Hollywood this year. Come to find out, they will not be holding a pay-per-view at SoFi Stadium, and they did not announce a new location as of yet. And they also pushed back the date for the event. Well, Michelle McCool, aka The Undertaker's wife, has tested positive for COVID-19. We here wish her and her family the best. Come to find out, Kevin Owens wanted to take on Brock Lesnar numerous times. Kevin Owens will be facing Roman Reigns now at the Royal Rumble instead of Adam Pearce. Owens was on Talking Smack and had this to say about Heyman, Brock, the Rumble, what have you. Owens said, I know it. Heyman's concerned about Owens. It's about as sincere as every single time I go to you for these past 4 or 5 years and tell you, hey, I want to fight the beast incarnate. And you say, oh, I'll talk to him about it. And it never happened. Just like you don't care what happens to me at the Royal Rumble. Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling's Hard to Kill is tonight at 8 p.m. I do have the full card in my predictions. First up, we have Brian Myers versus Josh Alexander. I really hope Myers starts moving up the ranks in Impact. He is a huge talent, and I don't want him to be a pre-show or an opener or a mid-card for life until they end up letting him go. So I'm going with Brian Myers. We also have Rosemary and Crazy Steve versus Tennille Dashwood and Caleb. Rosemary and Crazy Steve are fucking awesome. I am a big Tennille mark, and I have been since she was Emma in WWE. For some reason, I think Tennille's team will cheat and win, but Rosemary and Crazy Steve just reformed their version of Decay, minus Abyss, of course. I gotta go with Rosemary and Steve. We also have Tommy Dreamer, Rhino, and Cousin Jake versus Eric Young, Diener, and Joe Doring. It's old school rules. This should be a really good match. I'm also a Tommy Dreamer mark, and I have been since ECW days. I do want them to win, but Impact is building Eric Young's stable into being something big. So I doubt they will lose and lose their momentum. So I'm going to go with Eric Young, Diener, and Joe Doring. Next up, we have the Karate Man versus Ethan Page. I have no idea how this match is going to turn out. It has to be filmed like the Boneyard or Firefly Funhouse match, you know what I mean, cinematic-wise. I have followed Ethan on the indies, and I follow him on YouTube. Karate Man is just an alter ego of himself that he uses. So there's no way, of course, he can fight himself unless they do it cinematic-wise like they've been doing the promos, or he comes out dressed like Two-Face, rolls around on a mat, and kicks the shit out of himself for the win. But I'm going to go with Karate Man. I hope Karate Man wins and Ethan uses that gimmick going forward until his contract is up. We do have Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan in a barbed wire massacre match. Now, these two have been at it for years. Years ago, Sami Callihan hit Eddie Edwards in the face. Now, we know wrestling, the outcome is predetermined, and those spots are practiced and supposed to be safe, but he literally, by mistake, hit him in the face and crushed a bunch of bones in it. So these two definitely had bad blood. Who knows if they ever made up behind the scenes. But they are going to kick the shit out of each other, and it's going to be a bloody one. Everybody wants Eddie to win, redeem himself, stand up for his wife, but I always go with Callahan. He's the draw, and he should be Impact Champion. It's going to be a heck of a match, though, but I'm going with Sami Callihan. We also have the Impact Knockouts Championship. It's the champion, Deonna Purrazzo, versus Taya Valkyrie. Now, I love me some Taya Valkyrie from the indies all the way up to Lucha Underground. I have seen her legit kick the shit out of guys. Deonna was handed the belt way too quick in Impact. She lost it and she got it back. She has been a good champion, don't get me wrong, but they need to pass that strap back to Taya. But like I said in past shows, we don't know when Taya's contract is up, and if it's close to being that time, we know she's going to go to WWE with her husband John Morrison or AEW. I'm going to go with Taya Valkyrie. We do have Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan versus Havoc and Nevaeh with the Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. I mean, you got to go with Havoc and Nevaeh. They are a dominant duo, and they've been whooping ass the last few weeks on Impact. There's no other way the other two could beat them unless some kind of shenanigans go down. So I'm sticking with Havoc and Nevaeh. We have the X Division Championship up for grabs, which is Manik versus Chris Bay versus Rohit Raju. This match is going to be fucking insane. Just tons and tons of spots and close 3 counts. These threes are going to put their bodies on the line and put on a heck of a show. I think Chris Bay should win, but he's definitely destined for more pristine titles, but I know they're all going to pull out the stops for this match. Regardless, I'm going to go with Chris Bay. And finally, we do have Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, a.k.a. the Bullet Club, versus Rich Swann and the Motor City Machine Guns. Now, this match also is going to kick some ass. Rich Swann does amazing shit on his own, but tagged up with the Motor City Machine Guns, forget about it. This match is going to be high intensity with some crazy spots, but will it be enough to take out the Bullet Club? I doubt it. They just reformed, Omega is on fire, and there's no way they're going to take this loss in his first full match on Impact. So I'm going with Omega and the Good Brothers. Now, speaking of Sami Callihan, my dog Sami Callihan did re-sign with Impact Wrestling. I'm so glad he found a great place to call home. On a recent interview with Battleground Podcast, Sami had this to say about deciding to stay with Impact. I love Impact Wrestling. I have to give it my all. I don't think it's any secret that I wave this Impact flag harder than anybody else. Eddie Edwards and I have a lot of differences, but that's the one thing we have in common, and I have a lot of respect for. Eddie Edwards as well as the heart and soul of Impact. We have the flag harder than anybody else and are loyal to this company because this company is everything to us. I love Impact Wrestling, and I've loved Impact Wrestling since I was younger. It was a big thing for me to help change this company and make it better. I feel like I've done that over the last 3 years, and that's why I signed a multi-year deal. I love Impact, and I will be the face of Impact because I want to see the company continue to grow into being one of the biggest wrestling companies on the planet. On to New Japan Wrestling. Well, last week I did report that Jay White claimed he was done with New Japan Pro Wrestling and that he was leaving. Well, he has been removed from the New Japan Pro Wrestling roster and website. So who knows if this is a big work or is the Switchblade actually leaving New Japan? On to random wrestling and sporting news. Well, UFC announced that a positive marijuana test will no longer result in a violation. Now, a particular WWE star was happy to hear that, and it's none other than the number one 420 bro, Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle loves and loved weed. His love for the marijuana caused him problems many a times in his career. It actually held him back from signing with WWE for years. Riddle saw UFC's announcement and had this to say: "I got the greatest birthday gift of all today. Maybe 9 years late, but still an amazing gift. And one more thing, my record in UFC is 10-3, bro." He tweeted that, and he said that this was the best 35th birthday gift that he could have ever gotten. And finally, Jim Cornette has set his sights on Johnny Gargano and his wife Candice LaRae. On his latest show, Cornette had this to say about the couple: "I can't explain putting these fucking two on the show constantly. Even though he's good, her aside, she's just a run-of-the-mill girl wrestler. Who gives a shit? He technically is a good performer. Sure, if it wouldn't be for his size, his lack of personality, and his phony interview style, and everything else about him, then he'd be great. Give him a contract, make him a trainer, you know? He could do all the moves. Let him do motion capture for video games. He can do all the moves, but this guy is just not a television personality. Nobody wants to fucking see him. The only thing people want to see from him are the moves." Alright, peeps, well that's it for this episode. Remember, if you want to win that Bray Wyatt Ringside Collectibles Firefly Funhouse action figure, all you have to do is stay right here on YouTube. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe to the AEW Insider. Besides that, like, pick, and share any video, including this one. So subscribe to the AEW Insider, like, share, and comment on any video, and when we hit 500 subs, I will be doing a random drawing and sending that action figure out to the winner. Remember to show us some love on all major podcasting platforms, also on Facebook and YouTube under the AEW Insider, and on Twitter under the AEW Insider 1 as in the number 1. As always, I'm your host, Lee Benz. Thank you so much for tuning in for Wrestling News of the Week and joining us here at the AEW Insider. Ciao, peeps.